Secrets. This video is brought to you by Asmodee and Fantasy Welt.
What's up, Hits and Crits family? Welcome to the third episode of the custom faction videos. Today we have Hotshot with us, and Hotshot is the creator behind a lot of things, actually. A lot of like add-ons for official factions, but also the creator of House Blackfyre. And this is why we're here today. Great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really
Sure.
appreciate the opportunity to come and, explain a little bit of my creative madness.
Creative madness. So man, tell me, how long have you been playing Song, and is it your first tabletop, or are you like a long-term veteran? What's the story behind it?
So I learned about Song when it was on the Kickstarter, but I never got into it. And then I kind of just I was like, oh sweet, some Song of Ice and Fire content, big fan of it. And then I kind of forgot about it. And then in December, January-ish of 2020, 2021 area, me and my local group of friends, we've been playing D&D, and I had spent about 2 years taking 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons and turning it into Song of Ice and Fire. And I was like, yeah, we got to get some miniatures for this. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. There's a miniature war game that has some really good miniatures. So then it started with me going out, and I bought the Stark Lannister starter set, some Boltons, and essentially just like units that would fit in with, the story for Song, that the D&D 5th edition campaign that we were playing for. And then I took it over to our friend's house. We played like a session for the campaign, and then they went, hey, let's try the war game. And then ever since, that same group of local players, we've been playing for about four years now, 3.5, 4 years. And then it was about 2.5 years ago where I was like, man, they have the Golden Company, but it's not fleshed out. It's just 2 or 3. It's 2 units, the one elephants, and then the single attachment. And I'm like a massive lore guy, and I'd read the books. I have all the books over here. I have the World of Ice and Fire. I have a bunch of other stuff, and I was like, John Connington and Young Griff, I was like, I wanted to see those guys. So originally, in the very beginning iteration, it was just a Golden Company themed faction that just had, Old Griff, Young Griff, John Con, Aegon. And then it wasn't really until about 4 or 5 months before the big 1.0 release, where I overhauled everything with the help of Kovacs and Leon and the TTS team, using the JSON stuff, because originally everything was made by hand, and it took literally hours to make one card, and I was like, that's not it. So it was around then where I doubled down. I personally believe that Young Griff is a Blackfire. There's a lot of supporting evidence, I think. So then I doubled down on bringing the Blackfires in as a whole faction.
Cool.
Instead of just,
Yeah, actually, Young Griff, did you see our custom miniature we produced? So we basically went the route of the Tattered Prince, or the Prince of Tatters, and actually the first idea for a Hits and Crits miniature was Young Griff. That was the first idea we discussed with the Patreons, and we because we were also thinking that this miniature needs to be in the game somehow. It needs to be in there. But then we ended up with another route. So yeah, that's interesting, because I also feel Young Griff is a great character, and it should be fleshed out more, for the game. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love. There's a lot of. When it comes to card designs, every card that's a named character has a quote on the back, and I spent probably 4 or 5 days just reading through chapters that included him, and one of my favorite quotes from is "Swords are cool." So I just really like Young Griff. He's just like that gun-ho kid, and then he's like, Tyrion talks him into invading Westeros, so that's where we're at.
That's where we're at. All right, so great. So we learned a little bit about the inspiration behind it, why going that route. But before we jump into House Blackfyre, we really want to talk about what you have done for the official factions. So you have done stuff like Night's Watch, Free Folk, Boltons, Brotherhood Without Banners, and we want to talk about it first before we jump in. So to show some examples, before we show some examples, maybe you could give us a little bit of background. Why did you, or what led you to designing or adding those things on? Was it like you had the feeling something was missing to the factions? Were you trying to counter some meta stuff that is going on, like some stuff? What's your idea behind those add-ons?
Right. So I targeted. I'm calling them like faction expansions, and so like you said, I've done Boltons, Brotherhood Without Banners, Night's Watch, and Free Folk.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of I kind of believe that the mini faction design that we see with Boltons and Brotherhood Without Banners is like not the greatest. I don't think like there's so many characters that you could tag be part of Bolton and Brotherhood Without Banners within the books. And I feel it's kind of lacking when it comes to actually playing the factions. They're somewhat super limited. Like, granted, you can take a Tolier Baratheon unit when you're making Brotherhood Without Banners, but you're kind of limited with named attachments, commanders. Same thing with Boltons. And so it mostly comes from a feeling, a personal feeling of, man, there's so much more that could be in these factions that they seem to be missing. And for everything that I make, I like go to narrative before I go to needing to counter a meta. Um, but I like to put things in there that, could reasonably be used in an official tournament or something. I try to do my best with that. Um, so the main goal is targeting what feels like a lack of content and
Mm-hmm.
like support. Like Night's Watch is a big one. Those guys haven't gotten anything in years,
In
it
years, yeah.
seems like. Yeah. So that's definitely where I wanted to kind of hit the issue that I see with the factions is not a lot of content, not a lot of list variety. So that's what I wanted to kind of be the main goal. And then of
Mm-hmm.
course pooling in the making units that people want to have fun and play with, and B, something that fills a need within the faction, whether it's like a massive hole or it's just like a little seam that needs to be taped over with something like one of the big ones for free focus. People want more Frozen Shore affiliation, right? So, I don't think that's a massive hole in the faction, but I just gave something to kind of fill that want with one of the attachments that I added in the expansion.
Hmm. So, like, and these two examples or examples we see right now have pretty unique stuff on there, right? We have like Grey Guard building supplies, we have Herd defense, Goring charge. So there is unique stuff on there. So, do you tend to put something new in there with a twist, or do you? Or at the same time try to keep the core principles of the game and reuse stuff like shield wall. What is your tendency? What's happening when you design those units?
So I think it's a 50-50. I like to obviously stick with the core mechanic or the design of a faction. But when I start to delve a little bit more into like when people think of the Frozen Shore, the only thing people think about is the Great Walrus and the Walrus clans. Well, there's the Elk clans, which are the other half of the Frozen Shore, and so that's where we get the Elk Riders from, or the Antler Riders,
Yeah.
as the flavor name on there. And I was trying to think of, well, when Mance Raider came and the Walrus clans and the Antler clans, they kind of put their differences aside, and they followed the King Beyond the Wall. I tried to think of something that could fit within a free folk list, which fills the need of Cav without actually being like Lance Cav or Heavy Cav. So the design point of like these special abilities like Herd defense and Goring charge is to kind of play into the viciousness because there's quite a decent amount of vicious within some of the attachments and free folk, and also some of the units. But also that wildly kind of aggression, where if I'm riding a 500 or 600 pound elk, of course I'm gonna have it use its antlers to gore a Night's Watchman. Um, some of the units have pull a lot of flavor from the very little text, like in the World of Ice and Fire, about a thing. While if we look at the Grey Guard garrison, or the
Grey Guard
wardens
building
there,
the supply. Yeah, the Gate Wardens. Yeah.
yes. So the Gate Wardens, I wanted to keep them more into a uh, like staple of a defensive unit that we see within Song, but I wanted something more to represent the that they're not just simply a shield wall guys. So when we learn about Jon sending some of Stannis Baratheon's men and rangers and builders to Greyguard, he sends them with a lot of building supplies to rebuild and refortify the castle. So taking that, the building supplies is almost like the unit is filled with builders, and just on a quick willy-nilly, they can pull together some of their bricks and some of their building supplies and put up some, loose fortifications, which is where we get the low wall,
Yeah.
which is similar to the stake building that the builder attachment already offers. So I like to give something new to units and attachments, something flavorful and something that is similar, but it's not the exact same as what we've seen before. To breathe some new life into units and everything, of course.
Yeah. Awesome. And I really feel how deep you go in the lore to pull out these ideas for these units. That's awesome to hear. Like when you finish some, let's say you finish the Grey Guard Gate Wardens, do you like test those out locally? Do you have like a local playtesting group, or what does happen as soon as you have that card ready?
Yeah, so there's been about 3 iterations of the Gate Wardens that I've gone through. Originally, the heart of all of my custom faction stuff, because I have like a Discord server which is used for the Song of Ice and Fire D&D, but I also have 3.5, 4 years worth of unit ideas and attachment ideas that have just been sitting there, and I wasn't going to willingly spend 4 or 5 hours handcrafting one card. I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the the drive to do it. But the JSON, like, I've gotten pretty proficient with it. I mean, I can knock out a card, I can show it to some playtesters. We can playtest it for a few hours, a few days, and then I can make a change with the click of the keyboard, and then send out the next version of the card. But I try to have, so I have the local guys. They playtest a lot of stuff. My local friend group. I mean, originally they were the only people that playtested Golden Company, and so there was a ton of playtests for everything that I try to do, with a variety of different opponents. Like it'll either be like Lannister, Baratheon, Stark, Targs. I try to pull as many different variables to make something come off as balanced as I can from playtesting. And then there's a few people online that I've been introduced over time in the community that are really good at playtesting stuff and going over, and at like 4 o'clock in the morning I'll release a card and be like, can you check this over for me? And they'll be like, hey, this word is spelled wrong, and I'm like, oh, I gotta fix that. And so there's a few times where not only are they the playtesters, but they're also the publisher, I guess, where they're going over and making sure spelling mistakes and wording are where they need to be at.
All right. So when designing those units, how much do you think about the current power level, or the power level of the current state of the game? Do you compare much? Do you compare units to existing units in the game? I mean, you obviously try to do not do things that are OP, but how much do you compare to existing stuff, existing meta, especially point cost? Yeah, what's about that?
So when it comes to taking abilities and doing a point cost evaluation, I kind of have like this calculator that I've kind of designed, and it's very clear that Simon kind of, not throwing shade or anything. It's so like 7-point units and 6-point units are not created equal. Like sometimes they treat an ability being worthless for like one attachment or one ability, and then for another unit they treat it as 1 or 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to stay within the guidelines that they've already set. So like we've seen a shield wall unit that hits on fours with 3-up defense, totally cavalier or totally sworn shields
Yeah.
for 6 points. And then we've also seen a 4-up attack, 3-up defense unit at 5 points for Lannister guardsmen. And I was trying to equivalate. So they value 4-up attack, 3-up defense at 5 points. And it is the shield wall that they treat as 1 additional point or maybe half a point with stubborn tenacity. So I try to kind of value abilities with things that we've already seen. So I value like shield wall at 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the gate wardens, shield wall is inherently pushes it to that 6 point value. But when you
Mm-hmm.
compare it to other units that have shield wall, they have something else already. So that's when I kind of looked at the drawing board. I wanted something that made them feel unique, something that made them stand out. Because why take Greyguard Gate Wardens when I can get Shadow Tower Spearmen with Zephyr Charge and 3-up defense?
Yeah.
So I really wanted to give them something unique that draws the eye to, hey, this will be a really interesting unit to throw on the field, clamp down an objective, and then stack a low wall right in front of me, give me 2-up defense on the charge, just to give something to add some extra oomph to the units that I'm creating and adding and trying to make equal point value with other existing units in the game.
Yeah, especially I really like the idea of like putting terrain out, because this is something like War Machines. This is something unique to the Night's Watch, right? We do not see that really anywhere else. So so it's only Othel and the builder attachment. So I really like it on the unit as well. So that's a good idea. So why did you start with these 4? And while we're discussing that, I will show some more. Maybe you can talk about a little bit about the White Hill and Lady of the Leaves. Why taking Bolton's Brotherhood? So I guess because it was like lack of units and exactly. And Night's Watch and Free Folk. Why were these the first 4 you started with?
So Brotherhood and Bolton. Well, Bolton was the very first iteration of the existing faction expansion stuff, the add-ons. And so I felt without a doubt Brotherhood and Bolton needed something more. They needed. They're severely lacking as of now. Like, okay, so right now, not looking at the new stuff, but current, it's Ramsay and Reek attachment is inherently better than probably his commander. It's definitely inherently better than Ramsay's NCU. So you get locked out. So you instantly already lost an NCU option and a commander option for Boltons.
True.
And then Roose, it's the same exact thing with Roose. It's either I take his NCU or I take his commander, and I'm locked out of the other ones. And then you got Steel Shank. I like Steel Shank. I like using Steel Shank a lot because then it actually gives me options that I don't have to like put all of my cards into a commander. But I don't play Boltons that much, but so I just felt like they needed something more. They needed behind me I actually have all of the Bolton stuff sitting on a shelf over there. I'm starting to paint them and everything. But
to be prepared for the future, right? To be prepared for what's up on the horizon. Yeah. Same here, actually. Yeah.
So I was actually the first person in our local group to get Bolton, and then I played him one time, and I got absolutely annihilated by Targs. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But so so if we want to pivot to the Boltons first, because it was the first faction that I made, there's some semi-canon. Like, I'm gonna be super transparent. There is semi-canon sources that have the White Hills. Like, they're noted as an existing faction, or not faction, but an existing lesser house in the north, but they're not really like explicitly named. They're not really in the books. I think they're in the books for one sentence. Same thing with like the Foresters and House Wool, but House Wool in the later chapters in Dance with Dragons and the teaser chapters for Winds of Winter, we see like House Wool and some other mountain clansmen. But so there's some semi sources which George had worked on, like the Telltale games and the MMO from like 2009 or 2010 that has explicitly named characters, which is like Griff Whitehill, Lud Whitehill, and they're one of the first houses that they instantly pivot to Roose as Warden of the North, Lord Paramount of the North, and they're more than willing to be his. Get their hands dirty so that they can get more lands, and ultimately Whitehill wants to become he wants all of the Wolveswood is like his ultimate goal. So if the Glovers are going to be, Stark loyalists, I'm willing to kill Glovers and Foresters to get the Wolveswood and become, a more powerful vassal within the North. So I thought Lud Whitehill was a great commander to bring, and then same thing with his son. Who are very openly in the semi-canon stuff. They're very openly pro Roose Bolton, and there's not a lot of ambiguity. Like I know one suggestion was Barbary Dustin. Why isn't Babs a Bolton NCU or attachment? And it's very clear she hates Roose Bolton, but she probably hates Ned Stark more because the whole left her husband's bones at the Tower of Joy. But she would probably rather have Rickon Stark as Lord of the Wharf or Lord of the North, Lord Paramount, than Roose because Ramsay killed her daughter. So she doesn't like Ramsay, she doesn't like Roose. So she's playing the cards, right? So she's playing both sides. That's what it seems like. So and then like Baron and Scarred, in the more expanded lore for the White Hills, they're the White Hills of White Point. And historically, they had a bunch of ironwood trees, which are used for shields, spears, spear poles, and shipbuilding. And it took like less than 10 generations for them to completely kill off and deforest all of their ironwood trees. So they're very poor, and they kind of have a grudge with that. So I took that aspect of, they've scarred their land, they've completely ruined their forests, and turned it into a tactics card for the flavor there. So and then if we look over Lady of the Leaves, she's one of the she actually has a lot of substance in the books where she speaks with members of the Brotherhood Without Banners. And when they're searching for Beric after he gets killed, it might have been the second or third time. They're walking around, and she is actually the leader of a village that's hidden within the forests in the southern Riverlands. So and there's a lot of like pairing with the maneuverability of the faction. I wanted to give them something that turned it more guerrilla warfare-y. There's more guerrilla warfare, and I felt the lady who helps escort them around the forest and the Riverlands and has hidden villages and hidden caches of weapons and gold was a great NCU to give them some maneuverability enhancements and play into that guerrilla warfare-esque playstyle that the faction has.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. So, okay, so you did those 4, and I know there is more in the works. I know you're working on Baratheons and Starks right now, or as we speak. So that's cool. But now I have to ask like my most important question on House Blackfyre, because when we talk Blackfyre, before we start on digging deeper into like units and tactics cards and all that stuff, so who is your favorite Blackfyre character, which really took a lot of time from you to design and to flesh out?
Yeah, so not counting the historical Blackfyres that people haven't seen.
Yeah.
So I'll get into that. I spent a vast majority of time looking at John Connington because there's something kind of poetic about, he believes that Aegon is Rhaegar's son, and the whole backstory of, possibly being madly in love with Rhaegar and being, his best friend and crying when he played the harp. There's a quote where he says, "I failed the father and I will not fail the son." So I wanted to bring a character to the faction that not only had like a draw to him, so he has he has a pretty good ability, which essentially is old boisterous charisma with a little bit of fairy dust flavored, dropped on top.
Yeah, some fairy
Uh,
dust on it. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, some fairy dust on it. And uh, when the Golden Company and the Blackfire host, but Aegon's host land in the Stormlands, he's really pulling for a lot of the Storm Lords uh, to stop their stake in their claim with Stannis. They've been fighting a war for 4 or 5 years now. They've lost thousands, tens of thousands of their bannermen, and Stannis doesn't have a claim to the throne, but I have Rhaegar Targaryen's son. Declare for him. We won't take your holds. We won't kill your people. Bend the knee. Come back to being a Targaryen loyalist. And so I took a really long time I saw how Brotherhood Without Banners played with bring a non-loyalty Baratheon unit. And I really loved that, but I didn't know how I wanted to bring that into the faction. Um, because we know like the Conningtons at Griffin's Roost willingly open up their doors. We know that the island of Tarth, they hardly put up a fight. They bend the knee. Same thing with the Estermonts. They they see the Golden Company host, they see the Targaryen flags, and they open up their gates and bend the knee pretty quickly without putting up a fight. So John Con, I had the idea of wanting to include some Baratheon stuff, some Stormlord flavor, some Stormlands flavor. And so if you take John Connington as your commander, you get to include a non-loyalty Baratheon unit. And there's a new attachment that you can add, which is a Stormlord Declarant, which pulls into that flavor of rallying some of the disenfranchised, as we'll say, Stormlords within the Stormlands that no longer want to fight this losing battle that they see under Stannis the Manus. So that took a really long time for me to want to put into a playable character.
Cool. And I see the passion there. So like we talked about, or like if we take a look at the game and we check all the factions, it's fair to say that each and every faction, I mean the official ones, but also probably some of the custom ones too, they have a certain archetype or two archetypes of how they're played out, what they're trying to do. Lannisters are trying to control and panic. Boltons panic, tokens future, right, in the future. So they have certain core archetypes. So what were your two archetypes when we talk Blackfire?
So it starts with taking, at least for me, there could be some arguments with maybe don't do this, but I look at the source material, I look at how so Blackfire, as of now, within the War of the Five Kings and Aegon or Young Griff / Aegon, they're mostly the Golden Company with very few followers from the Reach and the Stormlands. So I took the focus and I zoomed in on the Golden Company that we see within the books, and it's made very clear that the Golden Company is probably. I am gonna just outright say they're the most experienced, battle-hardened, militaristic force in all of Planetos, or the world. Um, and a bunch of the warlords in the disputed lands, and even Mir and Pentosh, they would rather have the Golden Company be on their side than fight them because they're probably gonna lose. And we see that as their martial prowess is exceeding. They're very well trained. They don't break. They hardly ever run from the fields of battle. The only time the Golden Company really loses is when they get wiped, which really never happens, or whenever their captain generals goes in and charges into a heroic, like, guaranteed death charge. But even then, they still fight on the field because they're still getting paid, even if their captain general dies.
Yep.
So I looked at that. I looked at that, and I wanted to make a faction that doesn't rely heavily on tokens, because I feel like condition tokens can sway the game a lot, and they they have massive advantages with, like, causing some regression on your opponent with weakened and vulnerable tokens. So
Absolutely.
I came in with the idea that they would, on the upfront, they would be more I am gonna fight you at your best, and I'm going to beat you. So a lot of the tactics cards represent martial train. Oh well, martial training is a tactics card in the game, but you know that higher training level that the Golden Company has. The more experience, battlefield experience, which is an ability that the Golden Company Greatswords have, and it's just to represent that these guys, right? So if I line up Golden Company, my guys statistically have probably fought in more battles than most of your commanders. Like if you have Adam Marbrand, one single Golden Company officer has probably fought in more battles than Adam Marbrand has, and he's probably been in more duels. He's seen more bloodshed. So I wanted one of the characteristics of the faction to be, we're not going to throw out condition tokens, and because in design, I'm sacrificing condition tokens, which is a big part of the game. I wanted to upfront their offensive capabilities. So we see like the great swords, they get well, you have to control the crown too. So crown is like the major aspect, the wanted zone for the faction because of Young Griff's claim to the Iron Throne, hypothetically, if he so it was, and then retaliation is what the word I want to use. I wouldn't necessarily say control, but it's retaliation. Like we see the bitter steel, which is essentially card relentless. You attack me, in retaliation, I am attacking you back. So they do get a little extra attacking actions within the faction. But through a lot of playtesting, I mean, I've played games and I've seen games get played where if you're not bringing the specific Kingsguard, like Intimidation of the Crown attachment, and some of those where I make a melee attack against you, you become weakened and panicked, or weakened and vulnerable. I've seen games where in 6 rounds the Blackfire player has thrown out 2 condition tokens.
In 6 rounds.
In 6 rounds, yeah.
Yeah.
And the only way they did that is by taking the letters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So this is why, and this is why the crown zone is that important to the faction, and yeah, they're not relying on condition tokens. So your deck and your commander tactics cards, they are strong enough, or like they're strong enough, and don't really need the tokens. Is that fair to say?
So, yeah. So the idea is to kind of put the what's the good term here? The reliance on condition tokens that the game already has, where my Golden Company Greatswords can beat or can reliably stand up against your Cachery Rock Honor Guard without needing to put condition tokens on you.
Yeah.
Because they're so well trained. And if I control the crown, we're getting closer to that goal of crowning Aegon as the king. So it makes us better and makes us want to fight at our best. We want to get our king on the Iron Throne.
Cool. So the idea behind the Golden Company Greatswords is it's obvious, right? You can't expand weakened tokens as well. So even if your opponent uses tokens, it's not worth it against the Greatswords. Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool mechanic. How do you feel when we see, we just had this hits and crits custom faction tournament going? How do you feel about the power level of the Golden Company Greatswords in this tournament?
So I don't think I actually saw a lot of play with them. I know I played in it and I used the Greatswords. When they get locked in combat, they're extremely good. However, just like with almost any unit in this game, ranged units or ranged attacks, they can definitely pull
wear you out.
Some ranks off. And then also Sundering's a big thing against these guys. They're 100% offense. They are ruthless aggression. They're attack first, attack hard. They want to charge you. They want to get you locked in combat. But if you can bring Sunder in, then it's a great counter to the faction. And then if you compare them to an existing 7-point unit, which has a lot of similarities, which is the Targaryen swords, the Targaryen swordsmen. They also can't be weakened. However, they offer they have pseudo dauntless if your opponent doesn't control the swords. So even when you get locked in an offensive battle with those guys, and they have rerolls, they can't be weakened when they're performing the attack. They have precision. Oh, and we're gonna pass a morale test, so we're gonna heal a wound. We're gonna continuously pass morale tests with our 4-up morale throw an embolden attachment in there, you know, or anything like that, get it down to 2, they're always going to be healing. So there can be a few arguments where people look at the bitter steel melee ability and they're like, that's a lot there, you know. If you control the crowns, you get criplos and rerolls.
Mm.
If you control the letters, I become vulnerable. And um, my counterpoint to that is the faction hardly throws out condition tokens against you, and if you compare another 7-point like offensive hitter, like the Targaryen Unsullied Swordmasters, they also get defensive abilities. Like, sure, you know, we're not really going to qualify Dauntless as defensive, but
Mm.
they have 4 up morale. They're statistically always passing morale tests, and then they heal. So you're going to attack them. They're going to heal back. And most of the time, you see them paired with somebody who has normal Dauntless. So they're passing a morale test, and they're healing 2 wounds.
Mm.
And so I think if you look at the give and takes from a design standpoint, I think there's more of an argument to say that these guys fit the role that they're designed to, and they have more counters than probably Unsullied Swordmasters
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I
At least
already
from my
got.
point of view.
Yeah, exactly. When I saw them the first time, I really had the feeling they seem really balanced out. They seem not like too strong or too weak. So as you said, when they fit the role, when they're played well, and do what they are like designated or like aimed to do, it can be a good unit, but there are definitely stuff against it. So on the other hand, that's the great swords. So we have also the pikemen. So the pikemen are all, you also get this vibe of like you pulled it from Targaryens, right? You pulled it from their pikemen as well. So maybe give us a few sentences on the pikemen.
So I wouldn't necessarily say that I pulled them from the Targ pikemen. A lot of the set for charge units in this game all have essentially the same layout, the same
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
bone structure, skeleton. But so the pikemen are actually like a name drop explained like thing that the Golden Company use a lot of. So the Golden Company love to put on the field pikemen and use elephants to force people into Golden Company pikemen phalanxes. So like in the world of Ice and Fire, there's some really good art of a Golden Company phalanx, where you see, well, it's not really necessarily even a phalanx. It's like if you watch them, or if you look at the art, they're in a circle, kind of like at the end of 300, where all the Spartans have their shields and kind of like a turtle shell
Mm-hmm.
with all of their pikes out. And there's like 3 formations of it, and then sticking out of the top, you see some guy holding a pike that has a golden skull on it, which is it's just really cool. So I didn't want to make another ability to represent, you know, I'm holding a skull of a famous Golden Company general or a
Mm-hmm.
captain general. So I put Rally Banner in there, and that is to represent the morale boost of I'm fighting next to or underneath the skull of one of the greatest Golden Company
Mm-hmm.
members.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where Rally Banner came in there, and then obviously I stuck with the idea of set for charge on the spear
Yeah.
unit. So yeah.
Interesting. So on the power level again, so here we see John Connington, your most favorite character you worked on, and Harry Strickland. So these give me do they also have like a unique thing that really pushes forward the idea of what you have in mind for Blackfire, and what is it?
Yeah. So
yeah. Hmm?
Right. So, like I kind of went on a little bit of tangent earlier about John Connington, he gets to bring more of that the Stormland support to, you know, your army lists, and he also has this ability, which is veterancy. It's innate. It's essentially old boisterous and charisma, but it's very well clarified on how it works, and it is this unit, or you know, this commander, shall we say, the commander of this unit,
Mm-hmm.
John Connington, has over 25 years. So he fought in the Ninepenny Kings, the War of the Ninepenny Kings. He fought in Robert's Rebellion, and now he is fighting for the Golden Company. So he has 25, 30, 40 years worth of experience and commanding men, and he's not simply just going to let you target him with taunt. and then all of a sudden he has to charge you. He's not going to be influenced by some. He's not going to be influenced by some NCU from the wall or some Bolton NCU. He's not
Yeah,
going to be swayed by
he
some
just doesn't
words.
care. Yeah, yeah,
He doesn't care, and he's so enshrined with the idea of putting Rhaegar Targaryen's son on the Iron Throne that he would rather die than not see Aegon, the sixth, young Griff on the throne. So that's kind of like the flavor, the narrative kind of aspect behind the card's design. And then we have Harry Strickland. So Harry Strickland is currently the Captain General of the Golden Company. And he's the whole reason, or the main reason, that the Golden Company keeps spending gold on bringing more elephant prides into the company. So he's a big elephant guy. He likes the elephants. And so the commander design, or this might actually be his attachment. No, I think that's his commander. So both his commander and attachment are flavored to elephant play and lists. I'm pretty sure this is his commander because it's Mahout. So which essentially buffs the morale of elephants around him. And then he also has a commander card, which is Ivory in Battle, which is I'm just going to be honest, transparent. I pulled the Mother of Dragons card where a dragon gets to make an attack instead of Daenerys' unit activating. So Ivory in Battle, once again, pivots to bring elephants. Harry Strickland likes elephants around him. People who want to play elephants but don't see, it being feasible with point cost for other factions can look at Blackfire and go, everybody's a Golden Company unit. I get to bring more elephants. So that was a big design point there. And he also offers a little bit more flexibility because he gives you a point reduction cost on a Golden Company, your first Golden Company unit that's included in the faction. And from a design point, I wish more factions had something like that. Like we see a little bit with Ned Stark if he's your commander, or if you just include Ned Stark, you get your first Winterfell champion for free. Or if you have Cersei and Jaime gets reduced to point cost. So I really like that as kind of narratively building a list instead of meta-ly building a list. So I'm a big fan of doing things like that.
Yeah, totally. That was actually one of the first when we saw the season 6 patch, like a few months back. That was actually the first thing that came to mind, that we really like the idea of if I put this in, I get this for free or less points or whatever. So it really fuels that direction of of lore, and it's more thematic and all that. And you want to see those units both on the table at the same time. So that's really cool to see. So NCUs. So there are two pretty familiar faces. So Tyrion and Illyrio. Yeah. But totally different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely different than how you see them in existing factions with Lannister and Targaryen.
Well, except counterplot, but yeah.
Except counterplot, yeah.
Yeah.
Except counterplot. So once again, when we pivot to the books and we see Tyrion coming across the Narrow Sea, and he goes by the alias of Hugo Hill. He actually spends quite a bit of time with the Blackfire host and Aegon and John Connington.
Yeah.
And there's parts in the book where young Griff is he's taking counsel from all these people around him. He's taking the counsel of John Connington. He's taking the counsel of Haldon the Half Maester. He's taking the counsel of Brendan Rivers. And he also has this kind of plan that he has been trained to do so, assumingly from birth, from Illyrio. And Illyrio has this great divine plan that young Griff and the Golden Company are going to sail to Meereen, and he is going to marry Daenerys. And Daenerys, all of her Unsullied, the dragons, and the Golden Company are going to fly the banner of House Targaryen and retake the Iron Throne. Yeah. That's his grand plan. Yeah. But as we know, not only does Illyrio change his plans every 5 seconds, but so does everybody else. And Tyrion is this trickster mastermind when he's under the alias of Hugo Hill. He's very spiteful. He's kind of pissed off at the world because of you know, the things that happened when he was under trial and killing Tywin and Shay and all that
Yeah.
situation that happens there. So he does not care who takes the Iron Throne. He wants Cersei Lannister dead.
Yeah.
So he has this haha funny moment of, dude, young Griff, Aegon, you've just been revealed to me that you're Aegon. All of these members of the Golden Company have bent the knee and they're calling you your king. You don't need to marry Daenerys. You can just take the Iron Throne and then she'll obviously want to marry you. It's like an end. Just go take the Iron Throne right now. Just go besiege the Red Keep. And young Griff, who's kind of this very you know, you know, he jumps the gun, he wants to do things his own way. He takes the counsel, he understands it, and he's like, that's the greatest idea I've ever heard. Full send. And then that's why the Golden Company get a bunch of Mirish corsairs and some traders and slavers to ship them across the Narrow Sea. And it's kind of doesn't work out because a lot of the, you know, like Tyrosh corsairs and the Mirish corsairs, they don't want to deal with these guys. They're the Golden Company. We might die. So they leave almost a third of Aegon's whole entire force in the Stepstones, and we see the Stepstones very quickly start flying the Targaryen banner. So that's why Tyrion is one of the big NCUs here. I've changed him up completely, other than Counterplot. I still think Counterplot kind of fits his trickster mindset that he's in. And then obviously you see his order. His order is something, or his influence, which is gives you order to counter strategy. We see with a few existing units that they give abilities within the game, like in Greyjoy's. I forgot who it is, but he essentially gives you Iron Resolve. And then there's a few other NCUs that give you, you know, some named abilities. And I thought counter strategy was a huge step away, and it fit the character's idea. So that's why his influence is counter strategy. And I've gone through a different iteration of that, where originally it was a replace the zone effect to get an influence, and there was kind of a little backlash from some people. And I understand their argument. You know, constructive criticism is very good, I think, for creators on the custom space. So, and I like to take some of those that criticism there and make sure things are actually what people would play. So, and then Tyrion comes in at 6 points. He's one of the most expensive NCUs. Actually, he might be 5. I might have changed him to 5. He's either 5 or 6 points. He's one of the more expensive NCUs.
It's 5.
It's 5.
It's 5.
Oh yeah, I wasn't. Yeah. And then Illyrio. So once again, Illyrio is like the secret benefactor. He's supplying John Connington and Aegon with coins, with gold, with other gifts and everything to help sell along their way to get money, and to like help, you know, get them to where they need to be. So we see that he has the benefactor ability. And then there is the Illyrio's planning his once per game, which is to show that he can very quickly, you know, change a plan, change you know, the tactics zone by giving you some tactics cards and healing. So it kind of just is to meet that how he is with a young Griff compared to how he is with Daenerys. And then we also see in the books that he has a sword that he gives young Griff, which may or may not be Blackfire. The Valyrian steel sword. Yeah.
I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I really see there went a lot of work into it to bring all these ideas into all these units. But you didn't stop there, right? You didn't stop by making rules for it, but you also designed miniatures for your units, your attachments, for your commanders. So there are way more, and we're just showing off 2 here because we just take a look at the great swords and the pikemen. So we just want to show what you do. And I take it you open up a Patreon. Is that correct? You like to give those out? Maybe just give us a few info on this one. How do you want to proceed with those? Yeah, faction and miniatures. How do you want to proceed with that?
Yeah, so obviously it takes a lot of time to develop, you know, custom faction stuff, to make new units, to make new attachments and everything. And I put so much time into Blackfire as a whole, and I've gotten a lot of great reception. A lot of people seem to enjoy the faction and like playing it. And there have been a few people that have asked if there were plans on making miniatures so that they could actually put them on the table without, using stand-ins or, third-party things that they find on
Sure.
Etsy.
Hmm.
And I kind of thought about it for a little bit, and I wasn't too sure if I wanted to do it because, there's it's pretty large scape of things that to do there to put together a whole entire faction, to bring a unit that has 3 or 4 different poses, and 3D modelers are pretty expensive, which I'm sure you should know about
I
3D
know.
modelers and how expensive they should be.
Yeah.
But I started talking to a few friends. I have a friend who plays the game that I introduced him into, and he's from Australia. And one of his best friends in real life is a 3D modeler.
Hmm.
And we kind of got to the point where he was like, "Hey, you got our mutual friend into the game. He got me into the game. I've started playing, and I think it would be really cool to help make the models and everything." So that kind of started as like, maybe we'll do it, maybe we won't do it. And then he showed me a test sculpt. I sent him some images of the Royalist Targ stuff that I was working on, and he sent me a really cool test sculpt of the Lance Cav from the art. And I was like, oh yeah, we might have to do some things. And then some people were like, hey, if you actually jump, if you pull the trigger and you start making STL, if you had a Patreon, we would love to, support
Hmm.
you.
Cool.
And so there's some few people on the Patreon that are committed to support, where I'm handing out rewards with things that we have. Like, we have the STLs for the Game of Thrones Knights models,
Hmm.
the whites. So as like a reward, I've partnered with a local 3D printer. He's in some of the discords that's Battleborn Miniatures. He's
Mm. Yeah.
he's helping with US Nats. He's providing a bunch of really cool 3D printed like busts and trophies, and I think even a dragon that's pretty massive. I've seen it. It's pretty sweet. Um, and so we started printing out some of these rewards, and we've done a lot of test prints with the pikemen and the great swords. And we're probably going to be bringing some of those, finished, completely sculpted and printed and cleaned up miniatures for Blackfire to US Nats. Um, but on the Patreon, it's not only just about the miniatures. I also put a lot of like early looks and kind of like teasers for the Stark expansion, the Baratheon rebels, the Royalist Targaryens, and some of the guys on there that are interactive. Uh, I like to hear their inputs on things. I like to see how excited they get when they get to see like the Mad King Ares NCU commander. It's just really cool to get some uh, positive feedback on things, and so that's what the Patreon's all about.
Cool. So awesome. I will link it down in the description below. So really, I'm really impressed of all your work, and especially because you just not you talked about how Jason or the all the stuff made your life way easier in creating, and it's for all of us way easier now to create. If you have a good idea and play around with it, you can play test it way faster, especially TTS. That would be my final question. When is all that stuff on TTS? Like I know Blackfire is, but what are the plans in terms of developing and putting it into TTS?
So I won't go into the whole development side because for me, I send a a zipped file to one of the developers, and within like 15 minutes, it gets loaded in there. And then like I realize that there's a typo, and I'm all upset that I accidentally included the typo and forgot to fix it. But
Mm,
it seems to be fairly simple and easy.
yeah.
Working with the TTS team, which I'm very thankful that they've been cool enough to not only put Blackfire on there, but include Kovacs's, Tyrell's, Tully's, Stormlord, helped to make Tully, throw in Shane's, Aaron, and the others.
Yeah, all of
So
it.
it allows the community to play, all of these factions and get the feel
Mm,
of them. So I think as for faction expansion stuff, like the Night's Watch, the Boltons, all of those, I haven't actually communicated the want to put them in. Um, but I'm sure that I could have a conversation with, like Leon on the TTS team, and we could probably knock out a way where they get added, similarly to the other community stuff, where you just go to the end of the table and you click a button and everything generates.
yep.
Um, but I will say for Royalist Targaryens, it's in the game already
Mm-hmm.
with a development file. So it's
Okay.
already in TTS. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So you guys check it out. Everyone should test it at least once or twice to see how cool this faction plays out. So, man, it was so great to have you. And because this is such a great video, time again for another Vargo Holt for you out there to grab. So you can grab your Vargo Holt promo set right here in that video by just putting it down in the comments below. Your most favorite Blackfire character. Maybe it's maybe it's John Kahn, right, from Hotshot. Maybe it's someone else. So to grab the Vargo Holt, just comment down in the comment section, and we will grab a winner in one of our next videos. So with that,
I'd love to see how many Daemon Blackfires get commented in there.
Let's see. I'm also excited to see what's happening. All right. So again, great to have you. Great, thank you for taking all the time and give us some like background information and inspiration you have. Really cool. Thank you in the name of the whole community for all your effort and work. So I'm certain it pays off. So yeah. Any last words from you?
Yeah, I just want to thank the community for, giving the opportunity of even looking at any of the, the files or links or images that I drop in there. Thanks for all the feedback. I want to give a huge shout out to Shane from Boardman Gaming, Sam, who's Colvex. Those two guys really inspired me to start the homebrew grind. Obviously, a big thanks to Hits and Crits, not only for making the video, but for, you guys being so... enthusiastic and great to see some of the, the Hits and Crits team out there responding to some of the custom faction stuff that I throw out there. So it's really great to see a lot of interest for custom stuff, because there are a heck of a lot of factions and characters that could be in the game that I personally don't think we'll ever see. So,
probably not, but let's see. Let's hope for the best. Yeah.
So why not have somebody who's willing to, take the time, the players who are willing to play test and make things, reasonably balanced and fun to play. Why not have them, be somewhat involved with the community? So, I mean, it's just a huge thank you to everybody out there. And I guess the last thing is if you are waiting for tactics so that you can finally have Bobby B or Rhaegar Targaryen in an army, I have news that it will be very soon where you can use my interpretation of Royalist Targs and Rebel Baratheon. Yes.
I'm sold. Right. Best last words. So I guess there's nothing more to say until we meet again, guys. Roll those crits.
Come for the hits and stay for the crits.